In light of the recent findings of the BSCC and the abrupt transfer of youth and staff from Central to Barry J. Nordoff, the POC has asked the Probation Department to attend today to give us an update and explain the decisions behind the move and the plans for reaching compliance with Title 15.
Juvenile Hall to me, it's filthy. It was dirty. Sidewalks were broken. And POC did a report, end of the year report last year, that talked about some areas that needed to be repaired, replaced, or renovated. And we're doing some of those items that were identified by the POC report as far as repairs. And we already started that. I was there last week at Central, and I saw there was heavy equipment, tearing up sidewalks, even adding additional recreation opportunities for the youth in back of the unit, in one of the units. So what we did is that we hired 2 superintendents. We promoted 10 managers. You're right, Mr. Carrillo, when we walk in there and see the issue that you identified and the team members here have identified, it's troubling. The increases of call-outs, the increases of violence. And the thing is, it was occurring at both facilities, but now it's magnified. So we're taking a lot of steps to correct some of those deficiencies. One of the things we always talk about is getting community-based organizations to support us in those program efforts. And I think the problem that I see is that the contracting takes a long time to the county, not just probation, but the county procurement and contracting is very voluminous. It takes a lot of time, and we want to see what we can do to expedite that.
It is our absolute goal to make sure that kids are going to school in person on a regular basis, that they are provided with visitation from their family members and any minor children that they have, and that programming is in place so that these youth have something happening throughout the day when they're not in school. This new leadership team is really committed to making sure that that happens.
Thank you. Good morning, everybody. I'm Minor with the Arts for Healing and Justice Network, and Leo, I'm just speechless because we're talking, about moving 100-something kids right overnight, but yet we cannot move 14 kids from the compound to Kilpatrick. They're not telling the youth what's going on. They're not providing their parents with information that they need. So, the youth is acting out of, I guess you can say, revenge, because they don't know what's going on with them. They don't know when they're going home or, when they're going to be out of that room,
Obviously, there was an order in place to move youth immediately, and you guys responded accordingly, I guess. But I'm curious about the kind of planning that went into this move. Who was responsible for communication? Who was responsible for managing logistics? How were family members and county partners informed?
As the youth were being transported, some parents were notified while en route, others were notified when they arrived, and that is for safety reasons. And that's typically how we handle any notification to a parent when a youth is being transferred.
So BSC is telling us that, we support and that we think it's appropriate to suspend for 90 days. But if we're there and you have any youth in juvenile hall, we're going to inspect you guys at that time. And they supported the.
So wait, what was the problem with an inspection? Why were you trying to avoid an inspection?
Well, it wasn't avoided. The inspection is going to take place. It's just going to be delayed. In other words, they're still going to come back and do the inspection.
No, but you just said that we needed to move everybody right away because they were going to send an inspector, and we had to get them all out before the inspector got there.
Right. The inspector was going to go to do the inspection at Barry J. Nordoff. And what she told us is that if we had kids at Central, then they would do the central inspection. So that was the urgency.
So why were you trying to avoid an inspection of Central?
I think at Central, we had identified some items that we needed to fix.
The inspection was not going to go well.
Correct.
So one motion is for the Probation Oversight Commission to request from the Probation Department all documents, including communications to staff, youth, families, LACO, and any other parties related to the decision to close Central Juvenile Hall and any plans that were developed in preparation for that transition.
The motion passes unanimously.
Then my second motion would be to again make a formal request to the Probation Department for all existing documents, again including communications to staff, families, youth, LACO, and any other parties regarding the plans to transition young people and staff back to Central Juvenile Hall.
Okay, the motion passes unanimously.
Moving on to item number 3, is for the commissioners to vote and elect commissioners' leadership for the position of chair, vice chair, and secretary.
Okay, so we, with one abstention and one vote for Commissioner Yamashiro, Chair Carrillo is reelected for a second term. Okay, congratulations. Commissioner Jackson is unanimously reelected as vice chair of the commission. Okay, thank you, commissioners. Congratulations. Commissioner Canales is reelected as secretary of the commission. And
We'll be moving on to item number 4. We'll be discussing and taking appropriate action on the meeting frequency of the Los Angeles Probation Oversight Commission. So I motion that the POC meets twice a month for 2 hours on the 2nd and 4th Thursdays of each month.
okay, so with 5 ayes and 2 abstentions, the motion passes and we can move on.
Thank you, Wendy. Okay, moving on to item number 5 is for us to discuss and take appropriate action on progress the LA County Probation Department has made within the last 2 quarters towards compliance with the DOJ settlement. Here with us today is Assistant Inspector General Eric Bates from the LA County Office of the Inspector General.
We ourselves had concerns about the sudden movement of the youth from Central to Barry J, and concerns about why they were moved, the fact that apparently there was no notice to staff or youth or the parents.
So we will be discussing and taking appropriate action on adult services provided by the LA County Probation Department's Social Enforcement Operations Unit.
Deputy Fletcher, good afternoon, everybody. Thank you for the opportunity to present these 2 programs. I'm Howard Wong, Deputy Director over Adult Service, Adult Specialized and Emergency Management. So let's start with AB 109. 63% are done in 12 months. That means our DPOs did their work, right? There's no custodial sanctions and they're successful in a year. So 70% of these folks that come to us that our DPOs work with, they're done within a year. And that's a pretty good percentage.
So I had pretty pessimistic ideas of what these numbers were going to look like, and I'm happy to say that they are significantly better than I expected them to be.
Disarm. So originally, this is the program that got started with SCO, and their goal was to look for those illegal weapons, right, from our probationers, compliance checks, search and seizures, warrants.
If I might add as well to what Mr. Wong provided, as Mr. Wong provided, law enforcement agencies, police, sheriff can also do those searches. We really like to do our own searches, right? Because we are really the only agency that has the relationship with the client over a period of time. And so I think our officers are very skilled at being able to engage with someone. So even if you have to do a search, right, you're doing it in a respectful way. I think oftentimes what you see sometimes with law enforcement, and I know in my experience, you would go in with law enforcement and their approach oftentimes is to really kind of toss the house, right, and search. And that is not at all how probation approaches these searches. So safety is a key factor for the client, any family members or friends that might be present, and our staff. But the approach is very different than a police department or a sheriff's department, because we know that we're going to go back into that environment and we want to maintain that relationship and that level of respect with the client and their families or people living in the residence.
Mr. Wong, thank you so much. And we'll be in touch. I think that I'll speak for myself. I'm sure many commissioners would either like ride-alongs or to see your officers in action and to really get a sense of what it looks like on the ground.
No problem. Thank you.
Thank you for all your comments. As a quick reminder, be sure to follow us on social media at LA County POC and visit our website at poc@lacounty.gov.